And we're live with Be Green with Amy.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Be Green with Amy. I'm Amy. After adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle, my hubby Rick and I lost over 130 pounds. Now I coach others on their plant-based journey. Well, greetings, everyone. We normally have Just Tess Voice doing our voiceover promo and introduction, but today we didn't have it up in time, but that's okay. We have lots of fun things to talk about, and I wanted to ask you, do you struggle to stay strong when you're surrounded by tempting foods and skeptical people? I mean, have you ever felt isolated or confronted just choosing your healthy plan and path? Now, at age 72, our guest Esther Loveridge lost 130 pounds. And I would really love it if you could please click like to help me welcome the author of From Donuts to Potatoes, Esther Loveridge. So please go ahead and click like to welcome her. Thank you so much. And welcome, Esther.
Oh, thank you, Amy. It's always a highlight to be with you. It's just like seeing a best friend.
Yeah, and we haven't met in person, but that is my goal.
Yes.
I feel like I have done that. And we're just so grateful, Esther, to have you here back, and you always share such wonderful wisdom and strength with the Green Warriors. And I know that we're going to learn a lot from you and get inspired from you again today.
Oh, great. Yes. I think when you mentioned in the promo, it's so easy to have the isolation that we experienced during COVID still seeping into our lives today.
Yeah.
And learning how to re-engage, learning how to reconnect, learning how to step out into uncertainty, perhaps, but to maintain the contacts with people who do, in fact, raise our spirits and keep us feeling secure and safe in an uncertain world. Whether it's in the plant-based world or the world at large, I think we really need to support and encourage each other. So I'm glad for anyone who has chosen to spend their time with us today.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we love to chat with each other before the broadcast. And you were sharing with me how you are going through things that you've accumulated through your life, and you're trying to choose the things that give you joy and have those things surrounding you in your home, and taking the things that you've had in the home for a while, decorations or what have you, and putting them aside. And it almost makes me think about what you just said, where we really need to think about what are we surrounding ourselves with. So with you, you're choosing the things that are in your kitchen, in your living room, your bedroom, and things around your home. But also we have to think about that in the sense of the people that we spend time with. I mean, not everything's a choice, but the ones that we can choose, we really should think about, like you said, to have people uplift us.
Yes, yes. It's easy to give away our energy. There are so many distractions. I notice when I go around the house, maybe the clock will strike a certain hour, or maybe I'll hear a noise, or maybe I'll go into another room. And we talk about older people. It's kind of a joke where, you go to a room and you wonder what you were here after. And we forget because there are lots of distractions that keep us from being focused on what's really important in our life. So that's part of what I'm learning now too, is how to block out some of those distractions, some of those stimuli that call to me and seem to call for my attention. And yet I can say, okay, I hear you, but I don't have to deal with you right now. And just to stay focused on what your intent is to do for today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were also, before the show, we were talking about how people who are especially giving in nature try to go to other people that they know and help them with their things that they need help with. And even though it's a wonderful thing to do for other people, sometimes it's kind of a way of us kind of getting away from the things that we're supposed to take care of.
Yes.
And it's and the other thing we were saying that it seems like it's easier to take care of those people's things than face our own things and our
Yeah.
own problems or
It's
whatever.
always true. I know, there's the old idea of when you point your finger at someone, you've got three fingers pointing back. And there's so many different ideas that promote the same thing, and even in the scripture it says that we should not be looking at the speck in someone else's eye when we have a beam in our own eye.
Yeah.
So yes, many different teaching models share the same thing, like even row, row, row your boat, and you don't try to get into somebody else's boat, and you don't want them directing your boat. We're all here to do what we're called to do, but I agree with you, and that was really wise what you said. Is that as long as I can focus on someone else's misfortune, or what I might judge as being a bad habit, then that takes me off the hook because I'm focusing on them. But if I release them
Mm.
and then bring my attention and intentions back to myself and say, what do I need to do in this area? Then it takes work, of course, to do that, and even more work to stay focused as we do that, because it's so easy to want to uh, look at somebody else's issue and then say, oh, but I'm not that.
Yeah.
But then we all have our that's that we need
Yeah, we
to deal with.
do. We do,
Yeah.
and I think people like us who are out in the social media world and we talk about how we're living our life and the things that we're doing, sometimes it can appear to the people that are following us and watching us that we don't have any issues or faults or anything, because
Yeah.
we're trying to show the things that we've discovered that are working, that we want other people to see. Look, this is something that's working for me. This might help you or inspire you. That doesn't mean that we're living our perfect lives,
No,
right?
no,
It just means
no,
that we're just
no.
sharing things.
That we all live in glass houses.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and Roxy Ford is joining us. Greetings, Roxy. Thanks for stopping in. So we're talking. You said, last time we spoke, I said, "Would you like to come back on the show?" And you said, "Yeah." And you said, "I'm going to talk about survival mode." And I said, "Well, what is that about?" And you were talking about, staying plant based in a processed food world. And so I wanted to ask the Green Warriors, and maybe if you're watching, if you can type it in the chat. Do you feel like temptations or confrontations are the biggest challenges to staying on a healthy path? So tell us in the comments about that. And maybe Esther, have you, and for us, since we've been doing this for such a long time, sometimes we're not, these things aren't an issue for us anymore, but we have to remember back.
Hmm.
I wish I kept a journal, because trying to remember back, because of course these things happened to us in the beginning. Is there something that you might want to talk about related to that?
Oh, sure it is. We get revisited all the time, and just we're kind of like a refinery. Maybe we're virgins, and then we get to be extra virgins, and then we get to be extra, extra, extra virgins. The more we clean out things of our own mind and heart, and the more that we learn things. But it's rocky road in the beginning, and we snicker at each other. And I used to love my paydays and all these ideas of candies replicate our journey. And so, wherever you are on your journey, just know that we're all in the same boat, in the sense that there's nothing new or specific to any one of us that our sister or brother doesn't also have to face at one time or another. So, we're all here to learn and to grow. And when I think back on when I first started, I just, it was it was just very fortunate for me that I made a commitment. So it wasn't I'll try. It wasn't like I talked to someone at a flea market, not a flea market, but a garage sale the other day, and he said, "Well, I tried it for 3 months and it didn't work."
Ah.
And so I talked to him a little bit more, and then I said, "I don't believe you." He said, no, it's true. And I said, no, I believe you're telling your story, but I don't believe the story. Because when we follow a plan that guarantees success,
Yeah.
the only reason why we don't succeed is because we don't do it,
Mhm.
or we don't do it to the extent that we could do it and get better results. And I just talked to someone this morning, and you could just see that her emotions were all over the place. You know, she wants to do it, but then she wants to do this, and her life was so impacted with things to do. I don't know how she'd have any room to even meditate or think about what she really wants in her life. So we have to all come to that drawing board and say, okay, this is what I want, but what am I willing to pay to get it?
Yes.
Because nothing is free. I
Yeah.
mean, even though I was given Dr. McDougall's book and it was free,
Right.
as my donor of that book said, but you did the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true, being given a book did not guarantee me success, but applying the principles did. And we each get to decide how much we are willing to follow the plan. And if we don't think it's going to work, then we can feel proud that at least we're doing something, but doing something isn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have to really get down to brass tacks and examine ourselves and say, this is what I want more than anything in the world, and I will pay the social price of being ostracized. I will pay the price of my family not liking me anymore or being uncomfortable around me. I will pay the price of my husband or spouse chastising me or giving me a bad time. You have to lay it all on the altar, as they used to say, and be willing to die for what you believe will bring you life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, you're setting that example for them. They're watching.
Yes,
So
always.
you're going to help them in the long run. So when I asked this question, thanks answered and said, literal addictions. It's nice to have a good support group and to give oneself grace.
Yes, it is.
Filling up with fiber is helpful.
Yeah.
That's,
But
yeah.
I remember when I used to go to Tops, Take Off Pounds Sensibly, and we'd sit around the table. I don't remember if there was a leader or a discussion or a topic, but then following that, we all went out for lunch. Well, there are no restaurants you can go to and easily stay compliant.
Mm.
And I was thinking this week, why do no restaurants, basically no,
Yeah.
serve fruit? It's because these concoctions that include the oil, the salt, the sugar, and the fillers is what we're addicted to. And that's what they're counting on us eating when we come back. So it's in their best interest to serve the masses what the masses want, but they're not paying attention to what we want because we wouldn't even have to go back. I mean, the things that we eat at home, we can do easily.
Yeah.
But going to restaurants, it's like going into a den of lions and trying to survive.
Yes.
And there are ways you can do it, but initially, I would say if a person was really serious about wanting to get on track and to establish a new lifestyle, I think it would be a good idea to say, you know, for 3 months, I'm not going to eat in a restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that serious, if you're not that serious and you can make it work part way, then that's what you can also choose to do. And because I know we do need to socialize, and in my particular situation, it's much easier. It has been. I did have a friend come over for lunch yesterday, but generally speaking, the easy way out is to meet somebody in a restaurant. But
Yeah.
whatever happened to us inviting people into our homes?
Mm.
You know, I think what happened, I'm just speaking off the top of my head now, but I think what happened for me is there was a competition, you might say, between women putting on dinners. And if somebody did such and such, it's almost like the weddings. I remember back in '63 when I got married, we had cake and punch and coffee. And then we felt like we were going over the hill by having little groom's boxes and having mints and nuts. I mean, that was like,
That was the extra.
that was ratcheting it up. And now they're full catered dinners
Oh, yeah.
with alcohol and all of this stuff. And we've almost turned it into a party instead of honoring the vows of the wedding.
Hmm.
And so the same thing has happened for me. I felt, especially once I went plant based, I'm not a cook. I don't really do a lot of recipes. I didn't know how to prepare meals for people who were not plant based, and so that became a barrier for me. But like yesterday, I'll just tell you what I did. I had a green salad, and then I added some of those three beans that come in a jar, green
Yeah.
bean salad, and added that. And then Ben had some no oil dressing, which I normally wouldn't use, but I used that. And then on the side, I had some dill pickles and I had some beets sliced, and we had fresh peaches and watermelon and sweet potatoes. So I just put all of these options out, and she was able to choose whatever uh, fit with her palate, you know.
Mm.
So there are, that's, see, I'm still learning too about how to entertain and not try to put on the dog, so to speak, but just to put food out
Yeah.
and let them eat what they want or not. And this whole idea of trying to please somebody else, when you can have somebody into your home and you want to serve love and just be with them as a friend and to listen to them, it just changes the whole dynamics from trying to perform or um, impress somebody.
Yeah. And you could always just invite them over for a game of cards and have a bowl of grapes out, and
Yeah.
and there you go. You don't have to even think about serving a big meal.
No.
You can. I remember when I have three children, and so it always seemed like there was a birthday party somewhere or whatever, and so they had a lot of friends, and I would try to make the birthday party at around 3 o'clock, so that this way they weren't expecting to
Oh,
have a meal. And it wasn't because I didn't want to go out and buy the food. It was because I was gonna be this, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the party and with my child, because all I was gonna be doing would be cooking and serving. And do you need mustard? Oh, do you need, or whatever it is. And all I'd be doing is just, it was enough just to get the cake served.
yes.
so
Yeah.
so that's what I used to do. So sometimes, you don't have to have somebody over for dinner. You can have
No.
them over after dinner or before dinner, you
Yeah.
know, and
Well,
just have a little snack or
yeah.
something.
The reason why we did this is because we met a month ago at a restaurant, and the service was just horrible at this restaurant. And it's like we kept waiting for the waiter to come. And anyway, and after that experience, I said, well, just come to my house. So that's how that happened to evolve from that experience, because it was just, and in a restaurant, you're more conscious of the time because you're
Yeah,
taking up the table and all that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is I love that I'm still learning and growing and experiencing life in a better way just by being more conscious.
Yeah. So Kathy chimed in and said, it's mostly just me getting out of my own way. But when I
Mhm.
do go off course, it's often because I let myself get too hungry.
Mhm. Yeah, I think grazing can be a good thing. When we look at the animals that are out in the field, they graze all day long. And this idea of thinking we have to eat enough at 8 in the morning to get us to 12, to get us to 5 or 6 o'clock, we're burning up our energy differently every day.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just mental energy and sometimes it's physical. And so the idea of having to wait by the clock to eat, like this morning, I had Ben cut up some a potato in little bite-sized pieces, and he put it in the air fryer. And so I just ate a plate of little potatoes cut up, and then I had a peach. Well, then a little later, I just I just wanted a sweet potato that I had left over from yesterday, and so I ate that. So I know we have three meals and we're kind of regimented people, but Yeah, pay attention. Always have your potatoes ready, and that's a wonderful filler to have any time of the day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I always encourage people to take them with you.
Yes,
You know, if you have, I encourage people to batch cook those sweet potatoes and then they're cooled off in the refrigerator and they're delicious even when they're cold.
yes, I think
And
so too.
yeah, and if you take it with you, you don't have to worry about it going bad or something if you're just going to take it out with you for the day. And I tell them to put it in a Ziploc baggie, sandwich bag, and then you can kind of use the bag as almost like a glove so it doesn't go over
Yes,
your hand, and then you can eat it like an apple. So,
yes.
you know, if you're going to do things on the go, absolutely. But yeah, that's something. And I actually wrote a blog about, well, falling off the wagon is kind of what I called it, and I'll put a link to it in the chat. But it gave some tips because, and I was talking with someone who's on this journey. I was talking to them about it recently, and she was saying how that she's realizing that sometimes when she really thinks she's hungry, she's not, you know, and if she can figure out a way to distract herself, sometimes that's all it takes, and then she's really not hungry. So I gave a lot of tips in the blog that I just put a link to, but there, you
Okay.
know, we can talk about ways to. I think sometimes I think that our primitive brain is saying anytime you can get food, because you never know, right? You never know when you may not come across that walnut tree again as you're walking around or whatever. So just take it, you know. And I think that our primitive brain is always saying, you know, you're not hungry, but you really should eat because you never know. It
Yes,
could be 2 days before you get
yes.
food again, you know. So it's really have you know, having those kinds of that kind of mindset. So I think that just distracting yourself, finding ways to distract yourself sometimes
Yeah,
can
I think
make you
having a
feel.
drink of water is amazing too, because sometimes we're more dehydrated than we are hungry.
Mm,
And you can always try water first and see if that takes care of it.
mhm. Yeah,
You know, and,
absolutely.
and then you're not denying that your body's calling out for something.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you're watching television, there's so many food commercials that they're telling your brain, "Oh, look, there's food. Maybe you wanna think
Yeah.
about eating," you know? And so there's just so many distractions, but yeah. So I remember one of the tips I gave was, brush your teeth.
Oh, yes.
You know, because it first of all, it can't hurt to brush your teeth, right?
No.
And also floss, but when you're doing these things, you're doing the hand to mouth kind of action, you
Uh-huh.
know, and then once you get that minty toothpaste in your mouth, you're like, "Do I really wanna eat something? It's not gonna really taste very good.
Right.
Let me just brush
Right.
my teeth," you know? So I think that that's, you know, that was one of the things that in the blog that I gave as a tip. And
Hmm.
things like that, always have your potatoes ready. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Because it,
Ah,
it can't hurt, it can't hurt. And if in fact you are hungry, and I mean, people just don't overeat potatoes.
no, it's very difficult
No.
to.
Yeah, you just wouldn't, you have to be
Yeah,
hungry or
right, unless they're
even,
french fries or potato chips, then
yeah,
they can
right.
overeat it that way, but a
Right.
baked potato without any, you know, butter or sour cream or bacon bits or whatever on it, yeah,
Uh-huh.
you can only
Yeah.
eat so much and then you are just, yeah, you are just absolutely full. And, let's see, we have an honest doubter. Welcome. Have a drink of water. So of watermelon. Oh, have a drink of watermelon. Gorging on watermelon. So that's very interesting. Yeah, watermelon has a lot of water in it,
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
can definitely definitely fill you up.
Yeah. In fact, I think it was on Sunday night. We had been out with friends on Sunday for dinner. We went to the spaghetti factory, and that's a pretty. I'm giving a plug for that because you can get their mushroom sauce and their spaghetti, and then their minestrone soup is vegetarian, has no meat in it, and you have the option of eating bread, of course, and not taking the ice cream. But it's a nice little meal. And so we had that on Sunday. Well, then Sunday night, I wanted to go to a meetup because I hadn't been there for a while.
Yeah.
And so I just took with me a big glass of frozen pureed watermelon.
Ah, yeah, that's a
And I
treat.
thought if they kick me out of the restaurant, okay, that's their
Yeah.
right to do that. But they didn't. And I just sat there and sipped on my watermelon, and ate that because I really didn't want more food.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be in the company of like minded people. So um, sometimes we can change the rules that we have in our head that say we can't do that. But it's worth asking the restaurant person, say, I'm really too full to eat, but I'd like to be here. Would you
Hmm.
mind if I bring this in?
Yeah.
You don't know unless you ask.
Hmm. And you can always, leave a little nice little tip,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And so this way,
That's,
you're taking their table, but it still help them.
that's
So
right.
there's always ways to get around it. Oh, Kathy wanted to say, if you guys could see me, I'd hold up both of your books, loving them both. I haven't cooked from the cookbook yet, but everything looks great. Esther's book is so much more than I expected. Love it. Yes. Esther's book is wonderful.
Mhm.
And she's later on, I'm going to, of course, ask her to read something from it. But yes, it's a wonderful, wonderful book.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so fun for me too because it's what it is it's a collection of my daily word that I post on Facebook every day. I started probably at the end of 2018. So starting January of 2019, these are the words that I posted on Facebook, and I had no intention of writing a book.
Yeah.
But people said, "Oh, you ought to write a book," and I said, "Why should I pay to write a book, and you have to pay to buy it when I give you a page every day free?" And I said, "No, they really wanted a book." So that's how I created the book. Basically, was I went back and recollected all the words that I had said in 2019. And so when I do that on Esther's Nutritional Journey, uh, before recently, I was just reading the word for today. But June 2nd, I stopped doing that for about almost 4 weeks. I was going through a lot of changes here in the home. I had a guest here who was recovering from a fall, and I had a lot on my plate. And I also did some reflection, not wanting to be a role model or not wanting to be um, the one that people looked at when they could really just go directly to Dr. McDougall or others. I wasn't wanting to promote myself. And so I went through a period of reevaluation, but I'm back. I started, I think, 2 days ago. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going to read a page randomly, like I do on your show,
Yeah.
because that way, if I miss a day, I don't have to make it up and feel like I have to go through the whole book again.
Oh, yeah.
So it's given me freedom just to choose a page and read it and share that way. So that's kind of my new plan.
Yeah, and I know that everybody appreciates it, but unless you are somebody that is managing a Facebook page or a YouTube channel or Instagram, or it's really, people don't realize how much work goes into it. And we both do these things because we've benefited from this lifestyle so much that we really
Mhm.
want to share our experiences with other people, and we're hoping to inspire other people. But it can take a lot of work, and if we do too much, then we may get burnt out, and then we won't be helping anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you did that.
Hmm. Yeah. Because even on vacation, even on cruises, I still did that video every day. And it was almost a compulsion, almost an addiction. Not really an addiction, but it was something I didn't feel like I could not do.
Yeah.
So, and so when I took that little break and gave myself a chance to decide, did I want to continue doing it? And if so, at what depths? Then it gave me new choices. So I think I'll probably do it every day as I can, but I'm also not taking a picture of every single bite of food that I take, because that was keeping me taking my phone with me wherever I went,
Yeah.
taking it into restaurants, being addicted to my phone, being
Hmm.
ever present as well. And I'm spending more time, sometimes even going out and leaving my phone at home,
Hmm.
because it can be, every time we get a notification, it can be another distraction, another cue to come back to the phone and see what's going on. And I think social media is an addiction as well.
Yeah.
And I want to be careful that I don't um, plan my life around it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very important. And this, it goes back to what you were talking about, how you're kind of cleaning up your environment and
Mhm.
deciding what gives you power, what gives you, what uplifts you, and the things that maybe distract you or bring you down. And it's so important to be aware of that.
Yes, I think so too. It's really kind of exciting how it frees you up in so many ways, you know. Um, it's easy to get in a rut, it's easy to get in a routine, and easy to think you can't change, but we can change any day we want, and create
Yeah,
new patterns,
yeah.
and be free, you know. But in this time, it's kind of interesting with those dear people down in Texas going through what they're going through. And there's a lot of uncertainty and stress. And this is why I kind of wanted to talk about survival, because when we have made a commitment to a plant based diet, that solves so many problems in our personal lives. Um, when you know what you're going to eat and you know what you have in your house, it just takes a lot of those questions um, out of the hat box, and you just get to I mean, that's so much of your day is already decided. And then with whatever time you have left over, you can choose how you can best serve other people and yourself and your family, and to really send good thoughts to those people who have lost so much in Texas. And we're so, I can't even imagine the tragedy there.
Yeah.
And so we need to be together and encourage each other and strengthen each other, and know that there are safe people to call, safe places to be, and take advantage of it as we all try to survive changing times.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Well, why don't we switch things up and let's play our game of
Okay.
true or false?
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay, getting ready, Esther. Oh, did you show everybody your beautiful glass?
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful? We were talking about when you have fancy things in the home and you're saving them for something special, why not just use them?
yes,
That's what they're for. And it's a
that's right.
beautiful, beautiful glass. And it makes drinking your water or your lemon water or your tea so much more fun when you
Yes.
have a beautiful glass like that. Okay, so the first question we have is true or false? You need willpower alone to stick with a whole food plant-based lifestyle. What do you think, Esther?
Oh, no, you need a clean environment. Um, Willpower is measurable, perhaps, but certainly it's fleeting. And how much you're able to resist one day may be quite different from another day, depending upon the emotional demands being made upon you and your lifestyle. But if you have a clean house, you have far less need for willpower. If everything in your house is compliant, then willpower is not even required. Willpower only is required to the extent that you have temptation under your nose.
Very well
And you may not be able to have a perfectly clean house, but to the extent that you can have a designated cupboard maybe for your things, and you just never look in the other cupboard if you're in a mixed media family, so to
said.
speak, that helps. In fact, this week I took everything out of my, I have a cupboard that has three shelves on it, and mostly it was vinegars and spices and condiments and things like that. I took everything out, washed the cupboard out, and then I told Ben, only put back in what you use because I haven't used that cupboard in a year and a half.
Oh,
So this is just me. But
uh-huh.
he put back a few things that he wanted, and the rest went in the garbage. I mean, I had spices from back when they came in tin cans.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I just had so much stuff in there that we're not using, and I just made the decision, whatever he doesn't need is going to be gone because I
Mhm.
don't need any of it for myself. So that helps. And then we have other cupboards where actually there's very little in the house that is not compliant. I generally speaking, I don't eat peanut butter and I don't eat bread and I don't eat pasta at home. But and now I've had really fun. I put everything in glass jars instead of plastic containers.
Mm.
And so when I open my cupboard and I see about 8 different kinds of beans in glass jars, it's just beautiful to look at. And because the plastic is kind of cloudy and you can't really
Yes.
see in very well. And so now I'm saving jars like maybe that pickles come in, and I'm going to use that for my storage containers.
Yeah, very good. That's
Yeah, I
a
wish I
very
could
good tip.
take you over and show you my cupboard. I'm so proud of it. It's all organized, and
Uh,
we only have things in there that we actually eat. And I had some things that were compliant, but we weren't eating it.
yeah.
So I thought, why crowd my space
Mhm.
with that? So it's pretty simple now, and it's just fun. It's a joy to open the cupboard and just see all these beautiful jars. And someone said, these little jars you get that have a clamp on them. They have a lid that comes up, and
Yeah,
then
and then they have the metal that
yeah,
wraps around
yeah.
it, and then they
They said you can get those at the Dollar Tree store for
yeah,
like $1.25, and
yeah,
they're beautiful to look at.
yes.
And so I really have had fun doing that too. So make life fun. Whatever it is that you can do instead of feeling like drudgery or something. Find some joy in what you do and share ideas with each other, and keep your house as clean as you can because there's no use having temptation on every corner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's was our journey here. When we first started out, first we weren't giving up everything that was deleterious to our health at first. So, but things slowly changed, and
Mhm.
now our house is most definitely clean.
Yeah,
I had guests over, and I told them they could bring their own food if they wanted to, but they didn't want to. And one of them asked, "Do you have any salt?" you know? And fortunately, I had a little container of salt that I keep for sometimes, like if you have like a little sticky throat or something, and with salt water, or
uh-huh.
had to go find it. And then he put the salt on the food and he said, "This is so good now."
Oh
And
yeah.
I was happy because here he is enjoying a very good meal. Granted, he put salt on it, but otherwise he was very happy with it. So I thought that was a great thing, and maybe it might help him to
Sure.
consider doing
Well,
this.
that was Dr. McDougall's message, that if it took a little bit of salt on the top of your food to make it palatable, he honored that. He
Mm,
just said, don't put it on there and stir it in, or you'll lose the hit
yeah.
when you eat it. So just a little bit of salt or even sugar, he advocated for that. And some of us do and don't, but we have to find a place that it's kind of like, what was it, Sound of Music? A little bit of sugar makes, or maybe it was Mary Poppins.
Spoonful of sugar, Mary Poppins. Yep.
Right. It makes the medicine go down. And so if food is our medicine and if we need that as a bridge initially, um, so be it.
Yeah,
You know,
very good.
yeah, I think it's just when we eat things that are processed that have sugar and we get used to that. But I've always been able to, like when I was eating oatmeal, I just always could easily eat that without adding sugar or salt. But the important thing is the food,
Yeah.
and to get that down pat. So
Yeah, and I wanted to ask the Green Warriors to tell us in the chat, what is your biggest temptation? So tell us about that in the chat. What's your biggest temptation? And let me just see if I'll bring it up so people can see that. So tell us about that, because some people are still struggling. I know there's somebody that's watching that said that they were giving up uh, Dr. Pepper, and I don't know if he's still there. And if he is, I'm not going to say his name, but if he is, maybe he can share with us how that journey's going, because I hadn't heard from him for a while about that. But sometimes those kinds of things can really get in the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me go with our next question. So here's one: true or false? Avoiding all social events is the best way to stay compliant. All right. So what do you have to say about that, Esther?
I'd say yes. However, we're not here to have an easy life.
Mhm.
And we need to develop strength and character to face our demons, to face those things that challenge us, and to avoid them might put you in a place of eating according to plan. But then what about your emotional life?
Yeah.
What about your connectedness to people, which is so important as well? So we just have to learn how to cross the bridge and reach out and be with those that we love, and realize that the restriction we need is an individual one, and we come at it at different times in different places, but it's our issue to conquer. And by staying away, you might conquer, but at what price?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's been tricky for people who want me to join them at a restaurant. So I don't have a problem going to a restaurant like we were talking about earlier, just not eating.
Uh-huh.
But they want my input. What do you think? Where should we go? What would you like? And and for me, I can eat at a restaurant, but I really love the food that I have at home
Yes.
much better. So, but but you do what you need to do, and like you said earlier, if we can we can make our own social events too. And we
Mhm.
actually have twice a month we have plant-based potluck at our home,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's wonderful because people bring over their dishes and their recipes, and we get to share. And it's such a nice way of everybody showing how much they care for each other.
Yes. Yeah.
So and we learn about new recipes. And there's actually I have a blog about that where it shows you how to find these kinds of groups in your area. Or
Good.
and they have, you can type in your zip code and it'll tell you if there's one in your area. And
Hmm.
then of course if there's not, they help you. This is with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine,
Oh.
and they have something called Building Healthy Communities, and you can actually make your own. It's kind of like a meetup,
Hmm.
but it's through their website and it's all free. But it just helps you to find those kinds of people. So you can always, and
Yeah.
that's what I wound up doing, was making my own uh, group, because
Yeah.
I couldn't find any ones that were near me. So
What is the link? What is the link for that?
okay, well, I will put it in the chat, and I will also send it to you,
Okay.
and this way you can find it also.
Yeah, we
And
have every Wednesday. In fact, that's where Ben is right now. Every Wednesday, we go to a Mexican restaurant, and the whole restaurant is vegan. So that is nice.
yeah,
And on Sunday nights, we often go to another restaurant that's Vietnamese. They have several pages on their menu that are vegan, and then they also serve other meals as well. Um, and then once a month, we go to a place called Loving Hut, and that whole restaurant is vegan. However, um, the downside is that they use quite a bit of oil.
ah,
So balancing that out takes some thinking. But then, in terms of, I have friends that we like to still meet with, and we've been going to Olive Garden, and they have a huge salad that you can get. In fact, I got one just for myself, and the bowl was like this big. It was just huge. And I just had them remove the croutons and olives, and I forget what else might have been there, but of course, no cheese. And then I did have balsamic vinegar. So, and then even, pasta with a marinara sauce is a fairly good option. And then I've also learned that I can order a side of steamed broccoli, and you pay a little bit more for that, but that's another way of reducing the calorie density of the pasta. So sometimes some restaurants, you can do better than some vegan restaurants that are laden with oil.
Exactly. I believe someone told me that Chili's has that available, the steamed broccoli, and I don't know if they have a potato, but I know they have steamed broccoli available, and there may be some other vegetables. So that's another option. And of course, Wendy's fast food restaurant,
Yeah,
right? You can
yeah,
you can even do drive through, and you can get yourself, just tell them plain. You can get a plain baked potato or two
right,
if you need to.
right. Yeah. Ben said he'd bring me home at this Mexican restaurant. He's going to bring home a bean and rice and pico de gallo burrito for me.
Oh, okay.
And the pico de gallo adds a lot of wetness to the burrito,
Yeah.
and have that mixed in. So, yeah, there's lots of options. I think psychologically for us, the biggest challenge was we had so many restaurants we loved when we were eating the sad American diet.
Yeah.
And they were so filled with a dopamine hit, not only memories and not only that, but all of the extra fat and the extra whatever, and it's hard to compete with that when
Yeah.
we go plant based because it's not going to be that big rush that you used to have going out for a meal. It used to be you go out and have something special, you wouldn't make it home, and you kind of made that a big deal. And to go out and have a salad or a baked potato is not emotionally um, as big a reward, you
Yeah.
might say, but it can become that
Hmm.
because if we think of all of the benefits we've had with our health from eating this way, we could go out and have a bowl of steamed broccoli and a potato and say, thank God, I'm home at last. At least I found my solution. I found something that has given me joy and changed my life.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
much of it's in our head as how we happen to choose to think about it.
Yeah. So Kathy said that I get tempted while I'm at my daughter's house because I know what's in her cabinets, fridge. I'm often there pet sitting. I try to always have my own food, but it doesn't always happen like that.
Well, it's normal. You have to be abnormal to do this diet. Really, you have to go
True.
against the grain. The normal people just go ahead and eat it and say, "Oh well, I'll do better next time." No, you have to. If you're going to survive, if you're going to thrive, if you're going to live a healthy, full life, um, you have to be a little bit abnormal.
Yeah. But I always think that the people, especially people who have had children, so Kathy, hopefully you can relate to this. When the children were younger, you would never leave the house without a diaper bag, right? And if you weren't nursing, you wouldn't leave the house without a bottle and formula, or if the child was like a little bit older, you would never leave the house without bringing something with you in case
Mhm.
they got cranky and they needed a little snack or something. And maybe you'd have some band-aids and some diaper wipe. You had your go bag, and you wouldn't leave without that until they were a little bit older. And so I think about that when I go out. And well, we have our dog Zeus, right? And he's plant-based, so he eats more frequently than other dogs, right? So, and because he's so small, he can only eat so much at a time. And so we make his food, so I have a cooler bag, and I have a water bottle that I fill up for him, and a little pet bowl and a little bag of his dog food, and I have a little toy, and because I just never know when we're out driving around with him, maybe, we'll get in a traffic jam. Who knows what's going to happen? And so these are the things, if you pet moms or moms or parents can think about that, you just got to grab your go bag whenever, even if you're just going out for a quick something, always grab your go bag because you never know, right? What
Yeah.
will happen.
Yeah, I know one thing that helped me in that regard is when there was food that I idolized and food that I really looked forward to and stuff, especially going to a grocery store, I'd walk down this aisle and I'd just say, it's not my food.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my food. And if I was going past the meat or going past the dairy or going past the bakery goods, I just didn't, why even look at it? Because it's not what suits me well. It's not my food. And, how many of us have seen a little 2 or 3 year old in the grocery store go past the candy and scream out that they want that? And the mother says, no, you can't have it. And the kid screams a little louder. And the mother says, no, you can't have it. And finally, the mother says, oh, well. Well, that's what we do to ourselves too.
Yes.
We have that yearning, that addiction for whatever it is we're trying to abstain from. And our internal little voice keeps screaming a lot, but I want it, but I want it, but
Mhm,
I want it.
mhm.
And so are you going to be the parent in the situation and say, it's okay to want, but you're not going to get it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right about that, Esther.
Yeah.
It's so important to think that way. And but we have this excuse monster in our head that whispers to us, don't bring the sweet potato. Because if you don't bring it, then we'll be stuck and we'll just be forced to go off to
Oh,
that
yeah.
gas station that has those things that are naughty, and we're not even aware that our brain is doing this to
I
us.
know. I know. And believe
So
me,
we
by the
really,
time you get to be my age, that brain's been working wrong for a long time.
yep. So we have to be diligent. We have to be the parent, just like you
Yeah.
said. Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about this, true or false. True or false? Tell me, Green Warriors, what do you think? Food cravings often come from emotional triggers, not true hunger. All right. And while they're thinking about that, what do you say, Esther?
Yeah, I say it comes from love hunger.
Oh,
I say it comes from love hunger. If you're not feeling loved, if you're not feeling appreciated, if you're not doing what brings you joy,
mm,
it's easy to look to food to satisfy that yearning. But that yearning, to me, is not what it's about.
yeah.
If you get your emotional well being where it needs to be, then you're going to be far less susceptible to all these other things, trying to make up for what you really don't like in yourself to begin with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so true.
Yeah.
And the thing, it's so the it's like in the Wizard of Oz when the witch tells Dorothy, "You've always had your shoes."
Yeah.
You know, if you only knew what sticking to this lifestyle 100%, how it would make your emotional, mental health
Mhm.
feel, how it would make your body feel. And there's so many wonderful rewards that come from it if you just keep going.
Yes.
Instead of saying to your brain, oh, I don't care. I'm just going to have that. Just care and picture what life could be like. And maybe people don't realize because it's been so long since they felt good or felt comfortable in their body or what weren't on medications.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just been so long since they were in that situation that maybe they can't imagine what it could feel like, but it really can be a wonderful thing. And that's why we're here, is we're just really trying to inspire people to do this and just go 100%, because I think that's what we, all the things that we talk about, but that really is what helps. And the longer you're doing it, the easier it is, right? Then
Oh,
like you said, that's not my food. It really becomes something that just comes to your mind. Oh, I don't need that.
no.
You know, and you just don't want to give up, for well, first of all, it probably wouldn't taste good anymore the way you thought it would, because our taste buds have definitely adapted, but also because, you just don't want to feel poorly the way that you did before you began this lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking more recently too about even when we look back on our childhood and our upbringing, we may think that everything was okay, but just being born is traumatic.
Yeah.
I mean, just coming into this world and having to take a breath and having to breathe on your own afterwards. I mean, everything was taken care of us when we were
Yeah.
in our mother's womb. And then we come into the world and all of a sudden we've got to survive. And we don't know how to do that. And we don't know who's going to be the players in our play, who's going to help us get through this life. And so I think now, whether it was child abuse or no matter what's happened in your life, I think there's real trauma that is helpful to look at, and then ask yourself, how am I going to heal that inner child?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do today to take care of that little girl who's scared and feeling like an orphan? How can I take care of that little boy who doesn't know if he knows the skills to be a man? And self-doubt will keep us defeated.
Yeah, I like that. That's very true. Yep, we definitely need to care for ourselves, and that's our second chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get a second chance in life
Yeah.
to care for ourselves and treat ourselves the way that we deserve to be treated. And when you're an adult and you can make decisions for yourself, finally, that is your second chance.
Yes.
And now that anybody that's here knows that this lifestyle is definitely a way to treat yourself better, and it is a second chance.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, here, let's try this one. True or false? Being questioned about your food choices means you're doing something wrong. Tell us in the chat what you think, Greenwood,
Well,
and then you tell us, Esther. Go ahead.
obviously, somebody else who is questioning us is putting a judgment on us that we're doing something different from them. Whoops. Oh, I guess Ben got locked out of the house.
Do you need to
Oh,
go and
I
let
don't
the
know. He just, the door was locked. He should be able to get in through the house. So he just,
Okay, well, if you want to help him, I can just kind
no,
of chat.
he's smart. He can figure it out.
Well, yes, he is.
He's
He's
got a
very
key. But
resourceful.
yeah, he just wanted to come in a way that wouldn't
Ah,
put him on the camera, I think. Uh,
oh, okay,
but
I
anyways,
gotcha.
so where were we?
Yeah, so questioning about our food choices,
Oh
is that
yeah,
when we're
yeah.
doing something
Anytime.
wrong?
I mean, people are judging us all the time. There's a lot of criticism out there, and there's a lot of self-criticism as well. Hi,
Mm.
Ben. Come on in.
Hi, Ben.
You can come say hi. There he is.
Hi, Ben. Love your shirt. That's very nice shirt.
So yeah, that criticism is abundant, everywhere you look. Because people are always examining what they're doing against what you're doing, and most of the time we're going to judge that the other person is wrong because we don't want to learn.
Mm.
So it's just easy to cast aspersions to somebody else. So when you are doing something different from what you had been doing, it's easier to say it's wrong than to say, you've become enlightened.
Yep, that's true. Yep, throughout history, I think it's been proven to be true.
Yes. I mean, I always go back to Galileo, how people thought the world was flat. And people who have come up with new ideas throughout the ages have been put in jail, have been put into psychiatric hospitals, have been put into prison, have been killed
Mm-hmm.
because they dared to ruffle the feathers of the time. They dared to stir the waters and make people think. So, yeah. So if somebody thinks you're wrong, say, well, gosh, maybe I am, but my doctor's happy with me, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
But
it.
try not to argue. Arguing doesn't do any good. Just say, well, you could be right, but this is my turn to try this. So leave me alone.
And then change the subject.
Yes, there you go. How about those Dodgers?
Exactly.
That's a good
Well,
point.
I just so enjoy everything that we've been doing today as usual. And Green Warriors, please click like to show your appreciation for what Esther shared with us today. She has always had so much enlightening wisdom, and we really do appreciate it. And plus, it gives us a chance to be together as a community, and that's what's so empowering for all of us. And Esther, tell us about what you do and how we can find you.
Oh, okay. Well, I am on social media. My group is called Esther's Nutritional Journey on Facebook. I do ask two questions, mostly because I want to know what your goals are. I want you to think about that. And I also ask if you've seen some of the other podcasts, just so that I know how green you are, so to speak. And you can see on a daily basis a new word that I come up with and expound on. And often I will show my food as well. And I'll answer your questions. I try to respond to every single inquiry. I generally put a red heart when I recognize someone's made a statement, because we all have a voice that's worth listening to. And sometimes I will write more, but you can ask any questions. I do have a phone number there. You can call me. People don't abuse it, but it's available. I do have an email address, Ben or Esther at sbcglobal.net, if you're comfortable using that platform. And on YouTube, if you put in my name, a lot of interviews that I've had would come up. But, just try to pick a pathway and test it for yourself. If it doesn't work, then you might want to try something different. But there's a lot of influencers out there and a lot of different ideas on what to do, and it can be confusing. So know your heart and know what works for you, and then just do it. And I would welcome any of you to join me. And it's free.
Yes, and that's something that's really wonderful. And it's free. Yes, and I wanted to share what Kathy just said. Something reminded us of what Dr. Goldhammer said, and I love this. Alan Goldhammer said that if people don't say, "Are you going to eat that whole salad?" Your salad's not big enough.
Yes, he's very wise.
Yes, he is. He gives a lot of great information. Thanks you, Kathy, for reminding us about that, because I had him on the show, and he always had such wonderful Alan Goldhammer isms to share. But thank you, Esther. Please, thank you for coming here and sharing your strength and your truth and the tools that help my green warriors stay rooted on their path to wellness and make them feel so welcome here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's wonderful for me to be here too. It's a two-way street.
Oh, so what is your final take-home message for our green warriors today?
Well, look up. Yeah, it's easy to look down and see the dirt on the ground and see the dust and see the little pebbles that cause us to stumble in our way. But just keep pushing forward. Do what serves you best, serves other people in your family. Spread the love, be kind, and enjoy the results.
Yeah, and you will get them. You will. And if you need help or support, go to Esther's Facebook, Esther's Nutritional Journey. Come here and join on my live broadcasts, or join me on Facebook or YouTube and make comments. Esther and I both love when you guys come on and make comments or ask questions, because then that's our main thing, right? We just like connecting with people and helping people. And I also wanted to thank Just Task Voice. She did the promos and she did the countdowns, and she does so much work behind the scenes, and it's so much appreciated. And most of all, though, I want to thank you, Green Warrior, for joining us today. Your engagement and your support really make these discussions meaningful and impactful. And I hope that you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your food choices and make some positive changes for your health and your well-being, because every bite we take, it's an opportunity to nourish our bodies and, like Esther, become the healthiest versions of ourselves. And please stay tuned for more empowering content. And please subscribe to my channel and check out Esther's social media as well. Share my message with others who can benefit, because together as Green Warriors, we can make a meaningful difference in the world. And I also wanted to remember to ask Esther, do you have your book with you?
I do.
Okay, because we love to have you read a passage from your book and share that
Okay.
with us.
It's just, I take one at large, and this was for April 15th. The word was create. I'm not sure if I have used this word in prior posts, but we are constantly creating what we want in our lives. And so, even if I have, it bears repeating. On Facebook, we can be creators. We can create events, create photo albums, and create new friends. Yesterday at the luncheon for Esther's Nutritional Journey, we all got to meet Barbara from Vancouver, and we created a new personal addition to our group. Our connections spread all over the world, and we are creating solidarity among so many who want to be their best while eating healthy food. We can create a new spirit within all of us by the renewing of our minds. When we know better, we do better, and the result is profound. We have the power. We have the will. We have the determination to be our best and to share the good news wherever listeners exist. Have fun creating life experiences which bring you and others joy.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Esther.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to share a couple more. Steve Alvey. Hi, ladies. Yes, thank you, Steve, for joining us. And Kathy said, thank you both so much for wanting everyone to live their best lives. Yep, we do.
That's right.
Glad you realized that. And I wanted to, as a special thank you to all of you, I wanted to offer you 5 free recipes. So if you go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, then you can get 5 free recipes and it'll get sent right to your inbox one at a time every couple of days. And then you'll have some inspirational, motivational messages and some pictures of things that I like to do. And it'll be a fun way to connect to you. If you care to do that, I'd welcome that. And I would love to invite all of you, and of course you, Esther, to go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder and squeeze, because that's a hug from me to you, Green Warrior, and from me to you, Esther. And if you would like to join Esther in commenting, you can comment it in the comments, my tagline, which is be strong, be well, be green. I would love for you to do that. And Esther's going to join me, right, Esther?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well, and
Be
be
green.
green. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Green Warriors. It's always a pleasure to have all of you here. And I do hope that you'll come back again soon. Greetings, everyone.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be green with Be